I have to say, I have a lot of memories of Diane. I guess I feel as though I've known you my whole life, and I'm very uncomfortable here, of course. She was very encouraging.
Oscar-winning actress Diane Keaton has died. People reports Keaton died at her home in California. No cause of death given.
Diane Keaton's passing sent ripples through Hollywood and hearts worldwide, marking the end of an era for a woman whose talent and spirit defied convention. How does one honor a life so rich with brilliance and quiet battles, especially when grief touches those who knew her best in the most profound way? At her Seaside memorial, surrounded by family and fellow legends, the atmosphere was thick with love, loss, and unspoken words. Among the many moving moments, none stunned the world more than Al Pacino's deeply personal tribute, a testament to a love story that lingered far beyond the silver screen. The final morning, the morning of October 11th, 2025, began quietly in Los Angeles, with gentle sunlight filtering softly through the trees lining the driveway of Diane Keaton's Brentwood home. Inside, her sanctuary was as orderly and calm as ever, filled with light she used for reading scripts and penning her thoughts. But beneath this tranquil scene lay a silence far heavier than the usual stillness, a silence that marked the sudden end of a remarkable life. At 8:08 a.m., emergency services received a terse call. "Person down." No further detail was given, just those three chilling words that set in motion a hurried response. Paramedics arrived to a locked iron gate and found Diane motionless, surrounded by the quiet remnants of a life lived fully, yet privately. No signs of struggle or chaos disturbed the room, only an overwhelming stillness that seemed to cradle her departure. The crew transported her gently along streets she had known for decades, their quiet passage reflecting a respect for the fragile peace enveloping the early morning. Within hours, the world was informed that Diane Keaton, beloved actress and cultural icon, had passed away at age 79. Yet, amidst the announcements and condolences, the full truth of her final moments remained veiled. The family confirmed that Diane's health had rapidly declined, but chose to keep specific causes confidential. This discretion only deepened the intrigue surrounding her death, as fans and journalists probed for clues about the nature of her sudden decline. Diane had long been candid about her battles with skin cancer and a lifelong struggle with an eating disorder, but whether these contributed to her final day remained a whisper among shadows. Reports from acquaintances summarized a woman who had become more fragile over the last few months, a vibrant personality overpowered by sickness and tiredness. Still, no specific story came out, which led many to ask who first saw her decline and who then called for help. The inquiry about her last hours was like a silent echo, similar to the stillness around her that morning. Hollywood's response was quick, but very sad at the same time. The industry came up with very emotional and heartfelt tributes and consultations, which included Sullivan's classic fedora that was always ajar and her cheeky grin, attributes of a character that once effortlessly charmed the audience. However, the public acknowledgement was on the surface only, and most people felt the same way of losing someone so bright and the unexpressed longing to comprehend the quiet passing of such a great figure. The puzzle of Diane's last morning encased her goodbye in silence and privacy, and the mystery was like an aura around a woman who skillfully kept her life and battles hidden. The private pain and public image coexistence suggested that her death tale was as intricate as her life. The struggles and endings that day kept their tranquility over the surface, but the calmness was simply a veneer, and no one could fully realize this at the time, but the world, slowly wanting to remember her rightly, would eventually unfold it as the struggle and endings were that of a great soul and artist. Such a gentle yet profound departure set the stage for a funeral that reflected Diane's unique vision of life and love. Gathering at the Garden. 3 days later, on October 14, 2025, family and friends assembled in a quiet seaside garden chosen for its intimacy and natural beauty. The setting was far from the Hollywood spotlight Diane had famously resisted, offering instead a peaceful refuge where her story could be honored with privacy and grace. Ancient olive trees whispered in the breeze, as if nature itself stood witness to a promise Diane had once made in her memoir. The air was heavy with silent grief as the first guests crossed through wrought iron gates into a space softened by the salty sea breeze. The gathering was small, consisting mostly of close family members and a few treasured companions who had walked beside Diane in life. Their restrained presence mirrored the understated elegance Diane had always favored over grand spectacle. Bette Midler, Diane's dear friend and co-star, was among the first ones to come, wearing a gray scarf which covered her tear-stained cheeks. Midler was also with Carol Bayer Sager, who had experienced the heartbroken Diane during her last days. They exchanged solemn words and remembered the genuine and playful side of Diana that never needed to compete or pretend to be someone else. The flowers were arranged in a simple yet very meaningful way. Small twigs of lavender that came from Diana's garden, representing her fondness for simplicity and natural beauty rather than extravagant displays. The audience was not entertained by a big band, but only by the soft sounds of an old piano that had begun to play the love theme from Annie Hall, a piece that Diane called My Soul's Laughter. Diane's close-knit family was the center of the ceremony, a small circle not only connected by blood, but also by a powerful love that the world could not see. Dexter, her daughter of 29, told with a voice that was at the same time calm and emotional about the lessons they had learned from their mother. She referred to life as a comedy, sometimes clumsy, often painful, but always worthy of applause no matter what. Duke, the youngest son, 25 years old, was sitting next to her, having his eyes swollen but still in control. His reminiscences of Diane were like a slideshow of big hats, golden retriever walks together with Reggie, and a house with overloaded bookshelves and half-completed scripts, the place where Diane had been and where she had loving altering the through and protecting this event. There were no tears born of grief alone, but gentle sharing of stories and laughter softly punctuated the quiet. This gathering was as much a sanctuary as a farewell, a place where those who loved her could whisper remembrances away from the intrusive gaze of the world. This intimate and heartfelt environment reflected the essence of Diane herself, creative, restrained, and deeply human. Such moments reminded all present that a celebration of life need not be lavish, but sincere. A tribute to a woman who had always chosen honesty over grandeur. From this serene garden, the world's eyes would soon turn toward voices that echoed her impact far beyond family circles. Family tributes. At the core of Diane Keaton's farewell were the moving tributes offered by the family she held most dear. Dexter approached the microphone first, her voice both trembling and resolute, embodying the blend of strength and vulnerability Diane had nurtured in them. She emphasized how their mother viewed life as a comedy, sometimes clumsy and painful, yet always worth applauding, a lesson she carried as a beacon through hardship. Duke sat beside his sister, supporting her quietly while holding her hand. He shared tender recollections of afternoons with Diane wearing her signature hats, laughing as she walked their golden retriever, Reggie. He spoke softly of the warmth Diane brought to their home, a refuge turned into a world filled with stories, laughter, and love. Their stories echoed a hope Diane had maintained, to leave behind not a public spectacle, but a private sanctuary where whispered words of love could flow undisturbed. For this, the family had chosen a modest ceremony that reflected the values she lived by, an embrace of simplicity, honesty, and human connection. Close friends and companions also lent their voices to the tribute. Bette Midler, present from the start, whispered her memories of Diane's authenticity and irrepressible spirit. Her presence was a quiet testament to a friendship that valued laughter and truth over pretense. Carol Bayer Sager shared her experience witnessing Diane's courage during her final struggles, recounting how Diane never pretended or competed. She was wholly herself until the end. These intimate perspectives deepened the picture of a woman who, in life and death, remained unapologetically genuine. The family's reflections wove a tapestry of a life embraced fully, with humor, resilience, and love. They honored Diane's fierce independence and the sanctuary she created for her children through love rather than grand declarations. This gathering was not only a farewell, but a celebration of legacy, the lessons Diane imparted, and the warmth she left behind. It was a reminder that beyond the roles and fame, her truest imprint was in the hearts she touched most deeply. The tenderness of these moments spoke volumes about Diane's priorities: family, honesty, and a life lived on her own terms. As these personal tributes echoed softly through the garden, they reverberated outward, preparing the way for a chorus of voices from the wider world of film and art. The intimate warmth of family love created a foundation for the wider circle of reverence to come. Hollywood icons pay respect. As the ceremony continued, notable figures from Diane Keaton's storied career began to take their places, their presence a testament to the vast impact she left on the industry. Woody Allen arrived quietly and late, a pale figure dwarfed by the simple wooden chairs set up in the garden. The man who had shaped much of Diane's career, especially their iconic collaboration on Annie Hall, sat alone, cigarette unlit in hand, embodying a complex mix of admiration and sorrow. When invited to speak, Allen's voice carried a roughness born of deep emotion. He described Diane as the embodiment of creativity, more than an actress who performed, but a soul who lived with wit and self-deprecating humor, unique to true geniuses. Those in attendance nodded knowingly, recalling the transformative but sometimes complicated relationship the two shared over decades. Films like Sleeper and Manhattan had showcased Diane's unyielding spirit and willingness to challenge cinematic conventions, a legacy Allen honored quietly but profoundly. Francis Ford Coppola also paid tribute, his steps heavy with the weight of history as he approached the microphone. Coppola, who had cast Diane as Kay Adams in the Godfather trilogy, spoke warmly of her creative force and kindness on and off set. He embraced longtime collaborator Robert Duvall before addressing the crowd with sincerity, remarking that Diane turned even the darkest scenes into moments filled with humanity, a rare gift in the chaotic world of film. Duvall, visibly moved, added his own words of admiration and shock at Diane's passing. He recalled late nights on set when Diane's presence lifted everyone's spirits, her encouragement transforming tense moments into shared laughter and strength. The garden fell silent, the weight of their memories settling like a gentle fog, as if the attendees were watching a final scene from a beloved classic. Representing a younger generation of actresses influenced by Diane's work were Reese Witherspoon and Goldie Hawn. Both arrived carrying wildflowers gathered from fields Diane cherished, a symbolic gesture of continued life and growth rooted in her inspiration. Witherspoon, who had been mentored by Diane early in her career, spoke through a choked voice about how Diane changed perceptions of women on screen, making them smart, funny, and fiercely original. Goldie Hawn, sitting nearby, shared quiet moments with Jane Fonda, whispering about book club gatherings where Diane's quirky fashion and warm storytelling made her the unmistakable heart of every room. Their presence highlighted the enduring friendships Diane nurtured across generations of Hollywood women, bonds forged through art and resilience. Michael Douglas, seated toward the back, described Diane's loss as heartbreaking. To him, she was not only an icon, but a warm, generous spirit whose influence extended beyond her Oscar-winning roles and box office successes. His tribute emphasized the broad respect Diane commanded among peers who admired her as much for her character as for her talent. As the sun began to dip behind the horizon, the ceremony shifted toward a reflective memorial segment. A large screen played carefully selected clips from Diane's most beloved films. Her radiant smile beside Jack Nicholson in Something's Gotta Give, the tender embrace with Steve Martin in Father of the Bride, each scene a reminder of her journey from a girl in Santa Ana with Broadway dreams to a celebrated actress, mother, director, and advocate. Leonardo DiCaprio, quietly observing, whispered to a companion that Diane was truly one of a kind, expressing gratitude for having the chance to work with her. The soft piano melodies continued to guide the attendees into a shared space where sorrow blended with profound appreciation, painting Diane's legacy not just as cinematic history, but as an enduring human story. The bridge between generations was built not only through film, but through the next wave of artists inspired by Diane's spirit. Legacy carried forward. The presence of younger stars such as Reese Witherspoon and Goldie Hawn was more than respectful. It was a vivid demonstration of Diane Keaton's lasting influence on the evolving landscape of Hollywood. Witherspoon's heartfelt words reflected how Diane's unapologetic originality and humor reshaped the roles available to women, setting a new standard for what female characters could embody on screen. Her mentorship of emerging talent cemented Diane's role as a beacon for change and empowerment. Goldie Hawn's participation further highlighted the sisterhood Diane fostered among women in the industry. Their shared stories and laughter revealed a woman who didn't just break molds, but opened doors for those who followed. The wildflowers they carried symbolized a continuation of Diane's love for nature and simplicity, principles she lived by even as her fame grew. Jane Fonda, whose friendship with Diane spanned years, added to the mosaic of warmth by recounting intimate moments from personal gatherings where Diane's character and spirit shone brightest. These reflections showed a woman beloved not only for her work, but for the genuine connections she built. This gathering of multi-generational icons underscored the ripple effect of Diane's career, where her choices and courage inspired artistry and authenticity for years to come. They connected her enduring legacy not just to box office hits, but to the values she instilled: boldness, wit, and vulnerability. Fans and colleagues alike were reminded that Diane was a trailblazer who challenged Hollywood's standards, refusing to be confined by age or convention. In doing so, she redefined what it meant to be a woman on screen and behind the camera, carving space for authentic stories and voices. Michael Douglas's tribute, shared alongside these newer stars, bridged the past and future, blending nostalgia with hope. His praise affirmed that Diane's career was a foundation upon which many continue to build. The ceremony's gentle progression from familial warmth to Hollywood's tribute echoed Diane's own balance of personal authenticity and professional artistry. It was a fitting homage to a woman who had always lived life on her own terms but deeply valued connection. As memories and stories circulated, the audience was quietly reminded that each generation inherits more than fame. They inherit responsibility. Diane's legacy was both a gift and a call to continue honoring courage and creativity in the face of change. With the family's embrace still fresh in the air, the wider community prepared to witness the deepest expression of sorrow and remembrance, Al Pacino's private tribute, and the unresolved echoes of a love that defined much of Diane's life. Al Pacino's silent grief. While Diane Keaton's funeral brought together family, friends, and Hollywood legends, one notable absence left a profound mark: Al Pacino. His silence at the ceremony was not due to indifference, but rather an overwhelming sorrow that kept him from crossing the Garden Gate. Close friends revealed that upon hearing of Diane's passing, Pacino was engulfed in deep anguish, a pain both raw and haunting. Pacino's grief was rooted in decades of shared history, beginning with their collaboration in The Godfather and the complex, passionate relationship that endured beyond the screen. His heartbreak was compounded by a lingering regret. He had once walked away from a choice Diane gave him: "Marry me, or we break up." That moment now weighed heavily on him, overshadowing his present with what might have been. If the formal goodbye was too much emotionally for him, Pacino wanted to give Diane a private tribute and keep her memory in the compartment of his heart rather than in the public eye. He took all the things that reminded him of the two of them: the pictures of Diane's bright laughter, the letters she wrote to him, and little presents they exchanged with personal meanings. The memento turned out to be a carrier of the most delicate phases of her life, into the isolation of his being. During the quite recent period after her death, he kept spending days and nights going through the past, watching The Godfather, Parts 2 and 3, where their on-screen chemistry had been the hottest. One of his intimate friends observed that Pacino was shadowed by the unremarkable but beautiful daily moments, the ones that only Diane could do the magic of turning into joyful ones. This uncompleted romance now reverberated as a wellspring of deep desire and bitterness. On a certain day, going through the pages of Diane's notebook, Pacino broke down sobbing when he came across a tiny but very much uplifting note saying, "Don't forget to smile even if the whole world is against you." The message hit hard, an echo of Diane that was deep within the flesh and blood, hence her death. Among his most precious things was a silver bracelet she had presented him as a gift one Christmas in 1975, which was a quiet sign of their connection. During a 2017 tribute at the AFI Lifetime Achievement Award given to Diane, Pacino uttered the famous words, "I will love you forever." Now, those phrases sound like a belated goodbye, putting more stress on the fact that Diane was not just a star. She was the great love of his life and an essential part of his soul. Pacino's being silent was nothing but a confirmation of his emotions being so deep that they could not be uttered. Friends described Pacino's grief as encompassing not only the loss of a lover, but also the loss of a balance and peace Diane had brought into his life. He confessed in interviews that being with her gave him a rare sense of comfort and clarity, a grounding force amid the chaos of celebrity and creativity. That grounding, once lost, left a void that no accolade or role could fill. Pacino's choice to grieve privately, holding Diane's memory intact and unaltered by public ceremonies, revealed the complexity of their relationship, a love marked by beauty and pain, presence and absence. The image of Diane with her mischievous smile lived on vividly in his mind, transcending any formal farewell or ritual. This quiet mourning, carried out away from the public stage, shaped an intimate portrait of a love that endured beyond death, setting the stage for understanding the bond that defined much of Diane's life and legacy. Their history was as turbulent as it was tender, weaving through decades of light and shadow. Their storied relationship. The connection between Diane Keaton and Al Pacino began in 1971 on the iconic set of The Godfather, where Diane played Kay Adams and Pacino portrayed Michael Corleone. From their very first meeting, Diane was captivated by Pacino's intense presence and explosive energy, a combination that sparked both passion and complexity. Their on-set chemistry quickly blossomed into a relationship that intertwined love with artistic collaboration. Their romance was far from simple. A passionate tango of joy and recurring heartbreaks, marked by breakups and reconciliations, as if their own lives were scenes being reshot for emotional perfection. Friends describe Diane's open-hearted devotion, from laughing at Pacino's wit to quietly listening during his Shakespearean analyses, revealing a deep and sincere affection despite challenges. Pacino, known as a free spirit consumed by his career, brought both exhilaration and pain to Diane's life. She once wrote in an unpublished letter that she wanted to be his guide, to anchor his restless genius. Yet, that freedom, the very thing that drew her in, also stirred longing for stability and permanence he struggled to provide. During this era, Diane dreamed of a family and a home filled with laughter, a vision she shared with close friends and, she hoped, with Pacino. Though he loved her, his unbound lifestyle and career ambitions meant he could not fully commit to that future she craved. On quiet nights by the fireplace, Diane would hold his hand, seeking assurance about their life ahead, often met with hugs and vague promises. "She loves me, I know, but he can belong to no one," Diane confided to a friend, her voice tinged with regret. These moments became etched into her heart, a sweet but persistent wound that never quite healed. Their love, fiery and profound, was marked by this painful dynamic, deep connection shadowed by inevitable distance. The climax of their relationship occurred during the filming of The Godfather Part 3 in 1990, a poignant return as Michael and Kay. Diane hoped the experience might rekindle their bond and inspire Pacino to build the life they once dreamed of together. But when she issued the ultimatum, "Marry me or we break up," Pacino, though hurt, chose to walk away, citing youth and career demands. Following that decision, Diane resolved to end the relationship, writing in her diary that she had loved Pacino completely, and that this love was all she had. The breakup was more than a personal loss. It shaped Diane's lifelong choice to remain unmarried. Despite later relationships and proposals, she never fully opened her heart again, believing no other love could match those years with Pacino. Instead of marriage, Diane found solace and completion in motherhood. At age 50, she adopted 2 children, Dexter and Duke, and transformed her home into a sanctuary of books, films, and laughter. In a 2019 interview, she expressed that her children were her greatest love, affirming her independence and redefining family on her own terms. Yet beneath this new chapter lay the ever-present shadow of Pacino, a bittersweet memory carried not with bitterness, but as a poignant imprint on her life. Her wide-brimmed hats, quirky style, and resounding laughter often evoked the spirit of those earlier days, a living testament to a love both unfinished and unforgettable. The echoes of their decades-long story resonate not only as romance, but as a defining thread woven through Diane Keaton's extraordinary life. Their personal history was as rich and complex as the roles that made them legends. Diane's enduring legacy. Diane Keaton's legacy is one of extraordinary artistic achievement and personal resilience, marked by a career that reshaped Hollywood's portrayal of women. From her breakthrough role in Annie Hall, which earned her the 1977 Oscar, to iconic performances in The Godfather trilogy and Something's Gotta Give, Diane carved a distinct path defined by originality, humor, and depth. Her influence transcended acting, extending into directing, producing, and writing, showcasing a multifaceted talent dedicated to storytelling. Despite her success, Diane's final years were shadowed by fragile health. She quietly battled skin cancer for decades, facing multiple surgeries and advocating for sun protection. Additionally, a long history with bulimia left a lasting mental and physical impact. These struggles, though often private, revealed a strength and vulnerability that deepened public respect for her beyond the screen. In her personal life, Diane chose paths less traveled. Never marrying, she built a family through adoption, embracing motherhood with the same devotion she brought to her work. Her children, Dexter and Duke, became her greatest loves, symbolizing a different kind of fulfillment and legacy. Diane's ability to redefine what it meant to be complete outside traditional norms inspired many and reflected her independent spirit. Financially astute, Diane amassed wealth through diverse investments, notably in high-end real estate. She renovated and sold properties worth tens of millions, demonstrating a keen eye for design and business. This savvy extended the reach of her legacy, ensuring her family's security while honoring values she held dear: privacy, stability, and careful stewardship. Throughout her life, Diane maintained a reputation for authenticity. She avoided extravagance, favoring simplicity and honesty in her public and private worlds. Friends and colleagues often remarked on her genuine nature and whimsical charm, qualities that made her presence memorable and deeply appreciated. This authenticity resonates strongly in a culture that often prizes artifice over substance. Her impact reached beyond her generation, guiding new talent and reshaping cultural narratives on gender and creativity. Acts of mentorship and example made her a beacon for actresses like Reese Witherspoon, who credited Diane with opening doors for women to be smart, funny, and original on screen. This ongoing influence cements Diane's place not only as a star, but as a leader in evolving Hollywood's landscape. Diane's contributions extended far beyond her celebrated work in film and theater, reaching deeply into the realm of mental health advocacy. Drawing courageously from her own experiences with eating disorders, she used her platform to speak candidly about the struggles that often remain hidden behind public success. By choosing transparency over silence, she helped dismantle the stigma surrounding mental illness, reminding audiences that vulnerability is not weakness, but a vital step toward healing. Her willingness to share her story gave strength to those who felt unseen, transforming her personal challenges into a source of collective empowerment. In doing so, she not only broadened her influence beyond entertainment, but also became a beacon of empathy and resilience for countless individuals navigating similar battles. The estate she left behind reflected the same thoughtfulness and integrity that guided her life and career. Diane took deliberate measures to ensure her family's protection and to preserve her values, structuring her estate with care to prevent public disputes or sensationalism. This foresight underscored her lifelong commitment to authenticity and self-determination, illustrating her belief that one's legacy should be shaped with the same intentionality as one's art. Her estate planning revealed a woman deeply aware of the importance of privacy, dignity, and the graceful management of her personal narrative. Ultimately, Diane Keaton's enduring legacy forms a rich tapestry woven from artistic brilliance, quiet courage, and boundless compassion. Her life, illuminated by both triumph and vulnerability, stands as a reminder that greatness is not measured solely by acclaim, but by the capacity to inspire and uplift others. Through her work, her advocacy, and her humanity, Diane continues to embody the rare harmony of creativity and conscience, leaving behind a timeless example of strength, grace, and emotional honesty. Her story closes, but her influence will forever shape the world of film and those who dare to live authentically. Thank you for joining this tribute to Diane Keaton. If you appreciated her story, please like and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of legendary figures. Your support helps keep their legacies alive.